before this episode of The Viewing Room starts, we just wanted to give a quick thank you. We are now on our 10th episode, Moulin Rouge, and it's been crazy. We have lots of support, and it's been kind of a wild ride so far.
Yeah, it's a blast, and I think it's just going to get crazier, so.
Yeah, we do have an Instagram that just launched, the Viewing Room _ on Instagram. And you can follow us, give us a watch there. We post about all of our events and upcoming shows. And we also have a Patreon at dufferinave.com. So check us out, give us a follow, and have a great rest of your day.
Enjoy the episode.
And now time for The Viewing Room with Adam and Ethan.
Welcome to The Viewing Room with Adam and Ethan. Today we're going to be talking about Moulin Rouge. It was released June 2000. Oh, God, Jesus. I did not look at what it was.
You didn't look at what day it was released.
Okay, I got it. Okay.
No, we're not doing it again. Keep going.
Oh, that's so mean. Okay,
I know,
whatever.
right? But it makes for good content, you know?
No, it really does not.
It really does. It's
unpolished.
hilarious. I guarantee you people will laugh at that.
Okay. Well, it was released June 1st, 2001. Actually, the same day, the king and queen of Nepal were killed in a shooting. Which is
I didn't even know Nepal had
fact.
a king or a queen.
So a weird fact. That's why I bring it up, because I was looking up things that happened this day, and it's called the Nepalese Royal Massacre. Their son shot most of the royal family and 10 people all in the same room, and took over their son. And I don't do a super huge deep dive, but isn't that crazy? I didn't know Nepal had a king or a queen. There was a mass assassination.
But by one of the other royal families. Is it still an assassination if it's by one of the other royal families?
It was their son that killed him.
So he would be a royal. He'd be a prince.
I guess so.
Is it still an assassination? Or is it just
It was a massacre.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess it is an assassination.
Yeah, it was crazy. The same dude who wrote Dennis the Menace died that day as well. It was two very differing levels of importance there. But
Yeah, I would say so. The Dennis the Menace is definitely far more important. So,
Moulin Rouge had a budget of $50 million USD, and it grossed $180 million USD at the box office.
Yeah.
It was directed by Baz Luhrmann, starring Ewan McGregor.
By who? Who is it directed by?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Starring Ewan McGregor, Nicole Kidman, and Richard Roxburgh. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah. He's the Duke, right?
The Duke. Yeah. So we have Christian, Saltine, and the Duke.
And the Duke of what? Zippy's out.
I'm gonna get angry comments on this saying it's not Saltine, it's Satine, and I'm gonna be like, nope.
Satine.
Nope, you're wrong.
No, it's Saltine. Saltine, Christian Bale, and the Duke was Zippy's out.
Before I get into a huge synopsis and stuff, I want to start with one fact that blew my mind.
Okay.
Ewan McGregor did his own singing. So did Nicole Kidman. But Ewan McGregor. Doesn't that blow your mind?
No, it doesn't.
Lots of actors can sing.
Hold on.
But
this is one of the things that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm a musician. So,
Wow.
Right? And one of the things that bugs me in movies is when you have people who can't singing, and they auto-tune it all to shit, and it's all effects and everything, and it sounds like shit.
Or they have a double.
I'd rather they have a double, because at least then it's actual singing. Sure. But it always looks fake when you have people who don't really know how to sing, and then they're syncing. Obviously they record that all in a studio, and then they're shooting, and they're syncing to those songs. It just looks fake. And it sounds fake. Whoever was doing the audio for this, they really needed to do some more work on that sound, because it sounded like it was a studio recording. And in a setting like that, they need to make it like a hall reverb. I need to make it just like a studio hall reverb, because it's not a studio recording, and it just doesn't fit at all.
Wow.
Yeah. It's one of my biggest pet peeves in movies is when they do music like that wrong.
So you didn't like it?
Well, okay, I liked the songs. I liked the soundtrack, but I did not like the way that they incorporated it in the movie, like the way it was, like it could have been done better.
You know what? I'm gonna try and convince you on that because
you're gonna have a hard time.
there's a lot of pieces here, like, and I'm gonna talk about it later, but there's like lots of continuity errors. Okay.
Yes, for
And
sure.
I'm gonna try and convince you because it did sound very just mwah. Like it was good. I thought it sounded good. I don't like musicals, and I enjoyed it. Like, you know, and I'm gonna compare it to like The Greatest Showman because I wrote down here that was like The Greatest Showman on crack.
Literally. But even The Greatest Showman, the music, it doesn't sound as much like it was recorded in a studio. When they're, you know, in the it's like the really famous one where they're in the bar dancing or whatever, you know, like that one doesn't sound like it's in a studio. And that's all I'm saying. I think it was missing was that it needs the reverb. It needs the hall reverb and just some touch-ups to make it sound like it's not in a studio. Like that sounded to me like if I recorded something in, like, you know, the booth that we have here, the where it's all soundproof and really dead, you need to add some of the reverb and effects in to make it sound like it fits in the scene. When you're incorporating that into a scene where they're singing in the scene, like in a musical, and in a musical, it's live. You don't have to worry about that. It's built right into the room you're performing in. But when you're trying to do a musical in a movie, essentially, you need to do that. Otherwise, it just sounds weird.
See, here's the thing, though.
But that's me from a musical perspective.
In The Greatest Showman, you can tell every single line is done in post.
Well, yeah, you can. But
you know what I mean? That movie's so distracting to me because all the mouth movements are off. So
it is in this one. If you look at them while they're singing, it is so fake.
It's funny because you say that, and I actually did not notice it. But when I noticed that in The Greatest Showman, I've never been able to forget it. And maybe if I rewatch this movie now that I like want to look for that more, like, yeah, and it's insane. But I don't know.
No, I thought they're not. There's little things. Like when you can tell in the way their throat is that they're not actually singing. Like the look of their throat as they're singing is just completely off, and the way they're holding their jaw and their mouth is completely off.
Well, I would say that like maybe there was some discrepancies in the over the shoulder shots, especially like in the elephant, that one scene, like the poetry reading scene.
Yeah,
I felt like maybe was, I don't know, suspicious, but I don't think I noticed that as much as you did.
Yeah, again, that's from a musical perspective.
But like honestly, it's like I thought Ewan McGregor did a great job singing. I thought it was fantastic.
You can take somebody who can't sing and they slap a bunch of effects on it and sounds good. I could make you sound great.
Ewan McGregor sounded great, dude.
Because of the effects.
He sounded absolutely fantastic.
You show me him singing without effects, and I might agree with you.
But I don't know. I don't know what the effects are.
You can tell the pitch is flat. If you put
I thought it sounded great.
If you put the waveform of them singing into like audio software, you can see that like their variation of sense is just minuscule.
Wow. I was just excited to see Obi-Wan Kenobi sing a song. I thought it sounded really good. Why don't we let's read the exact process they used their thing, because I'm actually interested in learning about this. Is research that should have been done before, but like what effects did Ewan McGregor?
They're not going to tell you.
Because I think that's so fascinating, because I thought it sounded really good.
Well, of course it sounds really good, but it sounds fake. If you know what you're looking for, or if you know what you're listening for, it sounds fake. Like that's the whole point, is they want to trick people who don't have that training into thinking that those people can actually sing.
Do you know Ewan McGregor actually learned to sing properly and do all the things, and he passed down Neo in the Matrix to play this movie? To do this movie, which is insane that he turned down the Matrix for it, but whatever. Yeah, I mean they don't say anything. They just say like Ewan McGregor did his own singing and he sounded great. I added that part.
Well, of course they said he sounds great, because after you put all the effects on to the untrained ear, yeah, he sounds pretty good. But like I said, it's all affected to shit, and you don't. It just sounds fake. So,
they sang it in studio, then played it back while filming.
Yeah, that's how that's done.
they actually sang it live and sampled it. Yeah. So they like kind of like when you shoot a music video, right? Like that kind of
right.
That kind of process, right?
But they're still using the studio recording in the final version.
Yeah, exactly. But I wonder what happened in the studio, that to doctor it up so much, right?
It's not in the studio that they doctor it up. It's in post. Auto-tune and just certain effects like that. I don't know all of them because I'm not an expert on it, but I know enough to know that it was auto-tuned.
Well, yeah, I know nothing about that.
Because like when you're measuring pitch, like if you look at like a guitar tuner, they go in cents. That's the unit of measurement. So I can't remember exactly, but I think it's 100 cents between one note and when it becomes the next note. And so like when I'm just singing a note, there's natural variation in the pitch of like a few cents either way. But when you look at auto-tuned, if it's just like flat. Like, when you look at a waveform and it's like that, like even if I'm holding just a straight pitch, it's still going to have a little waveform because, your vocal cords are vibrating. It's not perfect. And so if you look at auto-tune stuff, it's just going to be a flat line basically. And you can kind of hear it in the sound.
There's a reason I didn't take music theory because that's just it. Yeah. Well, I would say, long story short,
I don't like the vocals. You like them.
I've made up my mind. It was Ewan McGregor. They didn't use any auto-tune. He actually sounds like an angel. And Star Wars the Musical is coming to theaters next year.
Star Wars the Musical in theaters. There's so many things wrong with that sentence.
That's what we're gonna say. Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal were actually gonna do it. They were down to do it, but the age difference between Nicole Kidman being like 30 at the time and those guys being like 21, 22, it was too crazy. So they went with Ewan McGregor.
Too crazy?
They didn't want a 20-year-old with a 31-year-old or whatever, because they were like, that might be a little.
Have you heard of the Young Sheldon spinoff, Georgie and Mandy?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, he's like 18 and she's like 30.
Okay. But I'm just saying, they were like, it might weird audiences out. And
I don't think it would weird audiences.
You know what? If Nicole Kidman was going to be the cougar that you go for, then all the power to you,
I'm
right?
actually surprised she was 30 in this.
It's Nicole freaking Kidman, man, right? Like
I didn't realize she was 30 when they shot this. I didn't realize that was how old she was. Jesus
let's hit him up with a synopsis because I think I've done enough damage for now.
The other thing we should say is this was brought to us by Coliseum Presents.
Yeah.
At the Broadway Theater, lovely Broadway Theater. It was
a nice pre-show performance.
Yeah, a nice pre-show performance.
Which I may or may not have told him to tell his girlfriend we went to a strip club. Whoops. You want me to read the synopsis?
Yeah, go for it.
All right.
ColiseumPresents.ca.
Thank you. Moulin Rouge film synopsis. A young Englishman in the Paris of 1899 becomes infatuated with Saltine, a singer at the Moulin Rouge. However, she has been promised by the manager to a duke in return for funding his next production.
Duke was zippies out.
As the young lovers meet in secret, Saltine's wedding day draws closer, but she hides a fatal secret from both Christian and the Duke. So I have one problem with that synopsis. This is spoilers, so you know what? Spoiler warning.
You've had 23 years to watch this movie.
They're like, she hides a fatal secret from the Duke. And I don't agree with that. They don't want to give away too much in the synopsis, but that's not true. That's just that's a lie.
Yeah, it is. She doesn't tell either one of them that she's dying.
No, but they don't really mention that the manager withheld that secret from her, right? And it's not like she was. It's not like she had a long time. It's not like she had a long time to hide that secret from them, because really, her actions were trying to push away Christian so that he wouldn't get assassinated. Not so much that he wasn't. She didn't want him to get all sad when she died, but
and
whatever.
You said, she didn't know that she was going to die until pretty late in the movie.
Until the last 24 hours of the timeline, right?
Yeah,
and so,
right.
Yeah, so that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
You can say she hit it at the end or stuff like that, but really, for 3 hours she hit it. Like,
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
They kind of skipped a lot in there.
Yeah, exactly. But I get it. They don't want to say too much
Yeah.
in the whatever. I guess we can go through a plot. I don't know.
This is gonna be hard. I don't think we should. Honestly, I don't remember the plot clearly enough because it's pretty confusing.
You can. Well, one thing I'll say, we'll go through. One thing I'll say is there's lots of jump cuts and things get pretty crazy.
I mean, when we first started watching this movie, like the first few minutes, I think we were both just like, "What the hell is this?"
It took a while to get into.
Yeah, like it was. I honestly, when it started, I'm like, "What the hell?" I am so confused. I don't like this at all. But by the end, I changed my mind. Like once you get into it, but it took a while to get into it. You know.
Yeah, I had kind of a similar thing. I was not really, this might sound kind of rude, but I wasn't really looking forward to it. I did not do. I didn't really do my research and stuff, and I was like, all right, like a musical, whatever. Like I know my buddy just saw it in New York like 2 months ago, and he thought it was good, and I was like, okay, like I guess
that's kind of what I was feeling. But
I'll go see it, and I found out, like an hour before the show that Ewan McGregor was in it, and I'm like, okay, well that's cool. I like Ewan McGregor, and yeah, I don't know, like. I kind of talked about this during Despicable Me. Is I really don't like going to movies with like a cynical approach, right? And I don't want to. I want to be excited for them, right? And I don't want to. You don't judge.
You want to go into it with a good outlook, so that you're not, your opinion isn't tainted as you're watching it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and again, I was wrong. Like I said the same thing about Despicable Me 4, and one day there's going to be a movie that maybe I don't like going into it, but yeah, like truthfully, I was wrong, and I'm happy about that because anyways, if you're expecting it to be bad but it's actually good, then you didn't waste money, right? Or whatever, waste time. And I think I enjoyed it, and I didn't help I was reading reviews beforehand, and there's a lot of people like, this is so overrated, it's a piece of crap. I could barely stay awake through it, and I'm like, oh no, this is not good, right? But for every 1-star review, there's an equal 4 or 5-star review, right?
Yeah,
and so, it's give and take. But
it had a pretty good audience score. I was looking on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's got a decent audience.
Yeah, like
score.
75 or something like that.
It was closer to 80 something, 89 or something.
Oh.
Like it was pretty high for an audience score. Critic score was a little bit lower in the 70s, I think. But
okay, yeah.
But yeah.
Well, we do start off with Ewan McGregor, who plays Christian.
Yes.
He's kind of a poor writer. And he's kind of been tasked to write.
This is why I didn't want to go through the plot.
It's tough.
It's tough.
The Moulin Rouge,
essentially. It starts... No, that opening scene is after... They show the beginning, or the end at the beginning. Right?
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't know love, or whatever. I don't remember exactly. He's talking about...
Sure.
He's describing the whole kind of ending almost in a way. And, like, we show all those establishing shots of... the area, the Bohemian area, why didn't they put Bohemian Rhapsody in here? They used all kinds of modern music, and they didn't put Bohemian Rhapsody in here.
You know what? I almost cheered when I was Made for Loving You came on.
Yeah, it's a good song.
Pretty funny.
But no, and it shows like the broken down, dead Moulin Rouge area. Sure. Like, the windmill's dark and not moving and all that. And then it kind of gets into the story of... Like he sets out the characters. This is the Moulin, the Moulin Rouge, where all the rich old men come to indulge their fantasies. And he sets up the manager. I don't remember what his name is now.
You can just call him the manager.
Yeah, the manager, whatever his name. Sets up his character and Saltine, and and then we get into the story. I think is how it goes.
Right. Yeah.
That was the part that was very confusing. There was a lot of jumps and cuts, and
it's quick. It does that weird like Pulp Fiction thing, starting at the end and then going back to the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I feel like that's a good kind of introduction, anyways, right? Christian.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing like new or special.
It can be compared to Aladdin, I'd say. Yeah. Ewan McGregor's character Christian, he's like the poor boy, and Nicole Kidman character Saltine is like, the more well off lady who, her kind of character, her job, I guess, is like, have rich men pay me for whatever, and I'll be more successful in my career and endeavors and stuff like that, right? And so, you can kind of compare that in a sense to Aladdin, in my opinion. I don't know if you kind of maybe saw a connection But then once
I haven't seen Aladdin in so long that I don't really remember it very well.
That's an insane thing to say, first of all. But second of all, it's like the same thing, like the Sultan and the
Maharaja.
Yeah, exactly, right? And
actually, my mom thought that we were going to Mulan. Like the Disney animated.
That's funny.
I'm like, no, it's a little bit different than Mulan.
Yeah. It's Moulin Rouge. Thank you very much.
Rouge.
Yeah. But Christian and Saltine, their paths kind of intertwine when he realizes he needs an actress for the performance he wants to put on.
I don't know. It's an unconscious Argentinian falls through his ceiling.
Well,
there's that scene, and that's how they get him set up with Saltine.
Yeah,
because that group's like, we need an end at the Moulin Rouge, so you're gonna pretend to be the Duke.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So he's kind of playing. What would you even call that? He's being a trickster, essentially.
Yeah, he's a con artist, kind of almost.
Yeah,
because they want to get it in there so that he can get a job writing there, or he can get a job working at the Moulin Rouge. So yeah, it's a con.
Well, like for all of them, they want to be in the performance and write it and do whatever and show their performance. And so they need to go in and have a little bit of status so that they can actually put on a show, right?
Yeah.
But in order to do that, they need money and they need an actress, and Saltine's the perfect person to be that actress. But they're still going to need that money, right? And so Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman meet up in her penthouse suite of an elephant. I guess
elephant, yeah.
we can say, which is a crazy sentence.
And
we skip over some dance numbers and stuff like that, but I really don't.
Yeah,
think
that
it's
opening scene was very long, like that establishing, like showing the Moulin Rouge and whatnot. It was a very long scene, and I'm like, at a certain point, I'm like, this is entertaining. Like, it's fun, lots of good music, high energy, lots of like it's entertaining, but it was a bit long in my opinion. Like, it didn't need to be that long.
Yeah, I definitely was kind of like looking and being like, huh, like what's really happening here?
Yeah,
like it took me a little while to like not fully absorb what was going on, but to be interested in what was going on. You know what I mean?
Well, it just almost felt like it was an overload. Like, it felt like there was just too much happening at times, right? Like, it was just crazy.
Yeah. Anyways, Christian and Saltine are in the room and
talk about poetry.
Christian wants to do a poetry reading.
Yes.
And Saltine is like, you know what? Like, let's hit it up. Let's do this. Man of words. And then she thinks
he's talking about
seduce him.
Yeah.
Essentially. And he thinks she's kind of just like interested in hearing his poetry, so that then he can kind of convince her to join the performance. But
and there's some really great dialogue in there where he's talking and you know that she's thinking one thing and he's meaning it like literally, where it's like he's about to start and then sometimes I just need a minute to get it whatever, and she's like oh and we all know what she's thinking and we all know what he's thinking, but they don't know what each other is thinking.
So
really great writing there.
He does the poetry reading, she rolls around for a bit, and fun fact, during that scene, you can actually see Nicole Kidman's nipple for like a little bit.
A nip slip?
Yeah, there's a nip slip, right? And I was like, okay, like it was all over IMDb and trivia pages and stuff. I'm like, okay, how old are you, seriously, right? Like it's ridiculous, right? So anyways, last night I went to Walmart and I bought the DVD. and
Did I borrow that?
Yeah, it was a big thing, right? So we're going to watch it again tonight and I'll let you know. Man, that just, So actually, you know what? Whatever. We're going to just keep going. Anyways, she finds out it's a con.
Yes.
Fast forward a little bit and more music and dance numbers. And that he's not actually the Duke as the real Duke walks in.
Yes.
And so they need to kind of try and sneak Christian out, but it's not working because the Duke is very, I'm not going to say perceptive, but he's very, I don't know, he's elusive to the trickery.
I wouldn't say it's anything to do with the Duke. I think the Duke's a bit of a fool. I'd say it's more just Christian not really being smart.
A matter of circumstances, like he hides behind the champagne and then the Duke goes to reach champagne.
Yeah, but that's not the Duke being smart at all.
No, But I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
he's not really
Yeah.
completely getting seduced yet. And, you know, Christian leaves, but then realizes there's a man at the door, the bodyguard, I guess. And so he's like, oh, okay. So he's like running around and trying to find things, right? Anyways, the Duke eventually catches Christian in the penthouse. And
No, she gets the Duke to leave.
yeah, and then the Duke immediately comes back
in. And then he comes back because he forgot.
and finds Christian. And so,
on top of her. They're rehearsing.
Yeah, they're rehearsing the play, and so he freaks out. What is this? What do you expect me to believe that you're doing rehearsal?
Yeah.
And then all of Christian's posse comes in.
Yeah, they start performing essentially.
Yeah, they're going to talk about the plot of Moulin Rouge essentially, and give us essentially create the plot of it in front of us. And
right. Yeah.
And they do that, and the Duke loves it,
yes.
and he wants to see it immediately, and he agrees to give them funding. And make Nicole Kidman his bride.
Not exactly his bride.
Yeah.
His consort, I guess, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe that's like a better term. So they go through, and now they have a limited amount of time to make Moulin Rouge happen. And so, obviously, Saltine isn't extremely happy with Christian for lying and doing whatever, and that he wasn't the real Duke. But then they kind of slowly start to fall in love a bit, right? It does have that little plot of Aladdin where, you know, maybe the poor boy can find a rich lover because he's a good dude. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And even though Saltine, up to that point, has successfully convinced all the men around her that the most important thing to her is diamonds and money and you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they kind of have this moment where on the rooftop of the Elephant where, you know, Christian's talking about, like, you know what, like, you really had me fooled when you said you love me there, and I thought it meant a lot. And, you know, she's like, it's my job to make you think that I actually love you. But there's something there. You know what I mean? There's still something there. And so it's not over for our boy, right? Like, he hasn't been left unread yet.
Right, yes.
And
Could you imagine if they did like a modern remake of this?
Dude.
Like, you know how they took like Romeo and Juliet and did that like modern one with Leo and like Leo DiCaprio?
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Anyways, you know what? I bet Saltine's snap score would have been like 2 million.
Literally, that's what it would be. An OnlyFans girl.
Unironic talk to a listener. You know? That's going to age so poorly, dude. Oh, man. Anyways, so yeah, there's still something there, but alas, Moulin Rouge needs to happen. And so they're getting the play is called Moulin Rouge, right?
I don't think we actually have to get a name for it because Moulin Rouge is the name of the theater,
establishment,
the establishment.
Right?
Yeah. So I don't think we actually really have a name for the play. Like, they never really say.
Well, I can look it up just to make sure.
What does Moulin Rouge actually mean? I don't.
What is the play? This is how little we know.
Yeah, I don't know French at all, so you know.
Dance is called the can-can. I don't know. It just says.
Well, yeah, because that's what the real Moulin Rouge was famous for, is inventing the can-can or popularizing it. I guess you'd say popularizing the can-can.
Red Mill.
What is it?
Red Mill is what it translates to in English.
Oh, that makes sense because the windmill that's like lit up red.
Or red light district.
Red light district, yeah.
I feel like that could be.
That's more of an Amsterdam thing. I mean, I guess that most European cities have a red light district.
Yeah, I was just making a comparison.
Amsterdam, Europe, or London.
Yeah, I watch Eurotrip. I know what it's about. So, anyways, they kind of start production on Moulin Rouge, but we do find out that Saltine is dying of something.
Yeah,
she's coughing up blood. She
keeps kind of having these like fainting spells and almost like hyperventilating, kind of like she can't breathe, or not exactly hyperventilating, but like just a weird attack. And I'm not a doctor, like, and they never really tell us what it is. No, my only theory is, We don't have that. We spend enough time in asbestos. No, if I remember correctly, a lot of women from like the Victorian era used to die of like lead and mercury poisoning because their makeups had like mercury and lead in them. And so they would like she'd be wearing a lot of makeup all the time because she's like a dancer,
Sure.
And that's my theory, is maybe it's some sort of like mercury or lead
Well, I
poisoning.
was thinking it might be like HIV or
Yeah,
like
that's
AIDS
entirely
or
possible too.
just because of
The time
circumstances.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's neither here or there. Maybe I guess you don't really
they never really
specify it.
confirm
So
it. It's not important. But
yeah. But she doesn't know she's dying. The
No.
doctors have kind of withheld that from her because they want her to.
I find that a little bit
Moulin
weak,
Rouge.
though. Like, she's noticed. Like, I mean, she would know that these things are happening to her. I would think she'd figure out eventually that she's coughing up blood. I mean, it doesn't take a lot to know that coughing up blood is
She
a bad
coughs up
thing.
blood on her hands and on
Right.
the napkin before she finds out she's dying.
Right, and I would think that would be a clue that you're not doing so hot.
Well, wouldn't you go and see the doctor when you're awake if you start coughing blood?
Right.
If you start coughing blood right now,
right.
would you go to the hospital or would you wait for you to pass out and have a doctor come look at you?
Right.
Yeah,
And especially when you have a doctor readily available on your staff, essentially, like, I don't see why, like, that was a little bit weak to me. Like, you're telling me she was clueless that she was dying? Like, come on. But whatever.
Well, and I guess I said the doctors didn't want to know, but that's not true. It's her manager,
It's the manager,
and like
yeah.
the other cast and some of the people. But
Yeah.
the important part is the Duke doesn't know, Saltine doesn't
Yeah.
know, and Christian doesn't know that she is actively dying.
Yes.
Nicole Kidman broke a rib during rehearsal.
Doing what?
She actually fractured 2 ribs, but doing one of the dance numbers, and you would think that postponed production. Nope. She took a 2-week break and was back performing.
Shit, that's tough. That's
Yeah. Oh yeah. And there was a lot of injuries apparently.
well. I mean, I would think when you're doing, like, some of those dance numbers are crazy, and the amount of people and the amount of, like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and some of those sets they'd be. I can totally see it happening.
Yeah. It was just a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2 weeks after fracturing a rib, and she was back at it, and I think that's insane.
Yeah.
But good for her, and
If you can do it, then
I think there was a lot of problems, especially within wardrobe and stuff like that, and stuff.
didn't this win best costume?
It did.
Yeah.
It did. Best. It was nominated for 8 Oscars at the 74th Academy Awards, which is insane.
That's a lot.
It won 2 for best art direction and best costume design and stuff. So
Didn't it win best production design or something too? Or
it's art/production.
art
design.
plus. Okay, yeah, I got it. Yeah. Okay.
So it won 2 awards.
It won 2. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see why it won
lots of-
production design. Like, it's crazy like that.
Yeah,
like
I want
that
to talk
set
about
and the
that
costumes.
after the
For
synopsis.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
I
Let's
have
keep going on
that marked down. There's
Yeah.
some interesting things there. But anyways, they kind of start doing the Moulin Rouge, and slowly Christian and Saltine are falling in love, but the Duke is trying to make Saltine. It's never not gonna be funny.
Yeah.
The Duke wants to make Saltine exclusive with the manager, and means
No,
that
no.
they're going to be together.
Not
when this is
exclusive
over.
with the manager. Exclusive with him through the manager. I
You
just
get-
got to make sure we're clear here.
And then the manager's like,
You know-
okay, I don't know if I can do this. And then also the Duke wants all the rights to the performance because he's paying this money, right? And so
No. He wants the deeds to the Moulin Rouge, like the building.
Oh.
That's what he's holding in
I see.
so
I see.
that he essentially owns the Moulin Rouge.
And he can
and-
choose what happens.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
I was reading speaking of the manager, I was reading an article, like a review, and they were like the openly homophobic manager, or homosexual manager.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't notice anything.
It's when they do that scene when he's trying to distract the Duke.
Oh,
At the end of the movie?
right. I didn't realize that was. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was like serious. I thought that was just like fucking him just being
Well,
a goof.
I mean, who knows? I think he was probably just being a goof, and people were like, that homosexual was dancing on his lap.
Right.
Like I don't know, like
Yeah, I guess they never really say it, but I was like, I didn't notice that, so I don't know.
maybe that's the sequel. Like we do a reboot and they've fallen in love. And they have 3 adopted children. And,
Can you imagine?
Yeah,
1900s Paris?
well,
Yeah, no.
I'm gonna read fan fiction while I rewatch that one scene today, I guess, and that's what my night's gonna be. But anyways, the manager's kind of skeptical about this,
Yeah.
and but he wants the play to go on, right? The show goes on.
The show must go on. They use that a lot.
And so essentially, he agrees to the terms, and they make it happen. And then I guess I'm kind of drawing a blank a little bit of what goes next.
Well, it's kind of a dead spot where they're going back and forth between we should and we shouldn't, and this is love and this isn't, and we can't, and blah blah blah.
They're kind of having an affair, Christian and Saltine.
Yeah, well, like and then there's, like I said, it's kind of a dead spot. And there's a whole bunch of twists and turns at the end. They keep going back and forth between like.
Yeah. Well, we can just skip ahead, I guess.
Yeah.
And essentially, during one of the rehearsals, the Duke comes in and sees that the ending is where the female basically picks the poor writer,
the penniless sitar player.
Yeah, the sitar player, I guess, in the play
over the Maharaj, and then
and essentially the Duke's like, whoa, like she wouldn't do this, like. A man with like a Duke status would pay for her whatever and make her life perfect, and she wouldn't have any problem doing whatever. So why would she pick the penniless sitar player over me,
over
or
the Maharaj?
The Maharaj, right?
Yeah.
And so he wants a new ending made, and so they have no choice but to agree and kind of create that new ending, right? But Things are skeptical. I don't think that anyone really wants to make the new ending because it's impossible because the performance is tomorrow.
Yeah, right. And then Christian Bale is like
Christian Bale.
That's what I'm calling him, Christian Bale. That's his.
I was like,
Christian Bale. Christian Bale is like, she doesn't want to pick the Duke, or she doesn't want you, like, right? Yeah, and he's yelling, and then that's like where like it's confirmed that they're having an affair, and like the Duke finally is aware of it, and then he's like, I will see you in my tower tonight, kind of thing, and
sure.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, the Duke does see Saltine in his tower and stuff, and demands that this ending happens, and that once Ian McGregor's character is no longer of use, that he says goodbye, essentially, right? And he does present.
I know. First, he tells her that they can keep the ending,
right?
Yes, but that she has to be his, basically.
Yeah, they can keep the ending, and so she agrees to this terms, but then he does in fact find out that they are having an affair when they kind of sing to each other from the balcony.
Yeah.
And that she loves him. And so he demands that, that the ending goes back to what he wants in his ending. And that if they ever see each other again, Christian and Saltine, that they essentially, that Christian's going to be killed.
Yeah,
I guess.
Right.
And there's some little stuff in there that we skipped. There's one thing that I will talk about. The Duke gives Saltine this necklace and like made of diamonds and stuff like that. Yeah. And I was doing research. So it says that Saltine's necklace cost $1 million about to make, that's 1/50th of the budget, right? So pretty crazy. 2% of the budget. Is that how that works? Yeah, 2% of the budget.
Yeah.
And it was the most expensive jewelry in a film set. Now, there's a little bit of discrepancies because there's the Heart of the Ocean from the Titanic that was sold for like $600 million. And this one only cost $1 million to make, but the guy who designed it kept it for his personal collection, so it was never purchased.
Right.
So
you'd have to look at how much it cost to make the one for Titanic.
I couldn't figure out how much it cost to make the Heart of the Ocean.
Yeah.
So, but it does say, and it was on Screen Rant and another website that said that it was actually the most expensive jewelry in a film set. So maybe the Heart of the Ocean cost around $1 million or a little less, and then sold for a crap ton later because of how popular.
Right.
And I'm sure this one was made for $1 million, but would probably be sold for 500, right?
Right. Yeah.
Pardon me, but
Bless you.
But that's the fact there, and so I do think the Heart of the Ocean, because it was sold, is kind of more valuable. But but since this one went to the dude who's designed it personal collection, then I guess he kind of can create whatever value he wants post Moulin Rouge, right?
Right. Yeah.
So anyways, they keep going, and Christian's kind of exiled in a sense by Saltine, where she tells him that it was all an act. I didn't actually love you. Yada yada yada. Please never see me again. Whatever. Stay away. Because at this point, she's kind of learning that she is dying, and things aren't looking great for her.
Yeah.
And Christian's gonna die if they ever see each other again. So she tries to break Christian's heart so that he never goes back again, just to save his life. But Christian isn't really having that. You know what I mean? He's like,
no, I don't believe this. This isn't right.
Yeah,
something's going on here.
He doesn't want to be heartbroken, and
right.
And I guess you could look at it as two ways, where she's lying to him to save his life and be like, I never loved you because I don't want you to die when you go to the movie theater and they kill you. Which, first of all, tell him those
things. Wouldn't it just make more sense to say, they're going to try and kill you. You know what I'm going to do? You run away. I'm going to go do the play. Then as soon as it's over, I'm going to follow you.
Right. Well, it's like this weird game of cat and mouse, because it's like, it's a movie logic where like it would make total sense. Like, I don't know, like if I knew that the second you got into your car today, there was a pipe bomb.
Yeah.
And I say, Adam, your car is so shitty, you should never drive that car again. Instead of telling you, Adam, there's a pipe bomb in your car.
Right.
Actively. You know what
One's a lot more effective than the other. Yeah,
you know
right.
What I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like the weird movie logic, and yeah, I don't know. Like it probably was easier to just say, not do this weird runaround game where it's like, yeah, by the way, I never loved you.
But tension.
Right. And I guess you could do the one thing where if she knows she's dying, then there's a double kind of like little edge sword there where she's like, okay, well, if I break his heart, he'll be less sad when I die and be less heartbroken effectively, right? Which is the case. Ewan McGregor, Christian heads to the Moulin Rouge essentially to kind of not crash it, but kind of get together with Saltine one last time and be like, listen, I do love you, and you may have tricked me or whatnot, but whatever. She assures him when he gets there during the performance. The performance kind of going on, everything is great. The audience loves it. Yeah, and it's good. It's a huge success. The Duke loves it. It's great. He does force the ending upon Saltine. There, she has to fall in love with like the Sultan,
the Maharaj.
The Maharaj.
Maharaj. I just like saying that.
Is that the same thing?
Honestly, I have absolutely no idea.
I keep saying Sultan because I keep comparing it to Aladdin, and that's why I keep saying Sultan. But I hope I'm not being offensive when I do something like that. So I apologize.
Honestly,
I apologize if that's taken the wrong way.
Good job.
We're gonna have to do an apology video, man, because I don't know.
Yeah, speedrunning an apology video. I don't know. I can't cry on command though, so that's gonna be hard.
Dude, don't even. I mean, it would be truthfully like I don't know. It would be interesting to know if that's.
You're right. I honestly have no idea how that works, but
at the end of the day, I think the core principle is the same. It's essentially an emperor.
I bet you a sultan is probably higher. Like, you know how like a king is like higher than a duke usually,
but an emperor is higher than a king.
No, an emperor and a king are two different styles of government.
Right, but wouldn't you consider an emperor having more access to things?
No.
Because a king has a kingdom, but an emperor's kind of like all of everything?
No.
You don't think so?
No, because it's just two different terms for essentially the same thing.
A sultan is technically an emperor, though, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying is a sultan is like on the level of a king or an emperor, and then a maharaj is more on the level of a duke. I'm guessing. I have no idea. I'm just guessing.
Oh, like a duke is a little lesser than...
A duke is less than a king.
Right, exactly.
Because like in the feudal system, it's...
I always thought a king would be less than an emperor, though.
No, not usually. It's like, a president versus a prime minister. They're the same thing.
Sure. But president has more power of a prime minister, wouldn't you say?
No.
In the cabinet?
No.
Essentially, the jobs are pretty similar.
They're basically the same thing.
I feel like there's a little bit more power being a president.
Well, I mean, if you're the president of the United States,
That's
sure,
what
you
I
might
mean.
have more
That's what I
power
mean.
because you have 300 million or 400 million people. I don't remember exactly what the population is.
Sure.
If you're the prime minister of Canada, you have a tenth of the population. So theoretically, you don't have as much power, but within your country, you still have the same amount of power, or very similar.
Access to things. Anyways,
We're not supposed to talk about politics, so we're getting off topic.
yeah. Anyways, I don't know. That's something we can research later.
Yeah.
Christian goes back to see the performance and see Saltine in the back, and she again reiterates to him that no, I don't love you. You're not worthy of my time. Whatever. I tricked you. You fool. So he kind of comes with her, and she's trying to make sure that he doesn't get killed because the bodyguards are after him and stuff like that, and so in their tussle, he actually Ewan McGregor's character Christian gets thrown out into the performance, right, with Saltine, and so the manager's kind of like has to tell everyone like, listen, guys, like he just changed his outfit and stuff.
Changed his outfit as disguise
and grew and
the bodyguard can't shoot him because he's like, I'm not going to shoot him in front of a whole bunch of people here.
Right, exactly, and yeah, it's so ridiculous. And essentially, Christian's kind of upset now because Saltine has convinced him to leave and kind of run away. So he takes a bunch of money out of his pockets and stuff and essentially throws it at her and says,
like, "Here, I paid you." And then
he says some words,
some stuff
that we won't repeat. And then we can probably say those words. But
I don't even remember what he says exactly. But
he goes, there, I paid my whore.
Yeah,
essentially.
right. Yeah, we can say that.
I'm not too sure. But anyway, sorry, Mom. And so, he leaves satisfied, and the Duke is happy because, at least they've broken apart, and the audience is still loving it. They think it's all part of the show. And then I guess there's like a little bit of a change of heart where she kind of sings out to him and he sings back, and she does kind of say like, I do love you all along. And that, it was never about money or status or anything like that. I did fall in love with you. And I'm going to sneeze. I'm just like waiting for it. And you're looking at me like that. Why would I mess something up?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Well, yeah. Anyway, so they sing back, and again, Ewan McGregor's voice is just so good. And da 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 da. It was fake and had whatever. Shut up. Okay, it was a good performance.
What constitutes a good performance in your mind?
When I'm sitting there at the theater and I'm like, bravo, bravo. That's what constitutes a good performance.
So, would you
get a load of this guy? Get a load of this guy. He's like, oh, they used auto-tune, so it wasn't good anymore. Like, dude, shut the hell up.
Would you rather listen to a professional singer who actually sings and doesn't need auto-tune, like somebody who's is actually good, or would you rather listen to Gary with a whole bunch of auto-tune?
Gary every freaking day. Also, you don't 100% know that Ewan McGregor isn't actually a fantastic singer.
I do. I could hear the auto-tune in both Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor. I can hear the auto-tune and the effects.
I don't believe you. Listen, here's the thing. Okay? I say we just both get a glass of milk. We sit down, we rewatch the movie. I don't know why milk, but
I like milk.
That's the first, I don't know, chocolate milk. And then, we'll just hang out and look at it. But I don't know. I think it was a great performance. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I really, sue me. I don't know. I thought the voice sounded good, and I was super impressed.
Of course, the voice sounds good because there's effects on it.
Who cares?
So
Welcome to the music industry.
Yeah, and that's why I don't like modern music. Is because it's all affected to shit. The music I like is 80s rock and heavy metal and what kind of stuff like that. And there's not very much effects on that.
Oh my god.
You listen to them in concert.
No, they had effects. You know what their effects were?
They have some effects.
No, their effects were a pack of cigarettes every single morning, okay?
Right.
That's called special effects, okay? Don't even.
But you listen to them when they're in concert and they sound very similar to what their recordings sound like because there's not effects. They can actually sing. The only reason they're successful is because they can actually sing.
And you know what? Ewan McGregor can actually sing.
Oh, fuck you.
Ewan McGregor can sing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ewan McGregor can sing, and that's the end of that. And you know what? We've actually hired Ewan McGregor to come in today. Come in, bro. Gary, come in here. Did somebody order a tune? Come in. Come give us a tune. Show us. I am There was way too much and way too little all at the same time.
This is a very professional studio.
I saw Ewan McGregor.
I feel obliged to make that disclaimer that this is a very professional studio.
Hand me that Uncle Mike's bag. I need something for my eyes. Oh man. For those of you listening on our audio only versions on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts, there was a lot that just happened. You know what? We don't have to divulge all of it, but you could probably interpret that we just saw a lot of Gary, more than anyone should see in a working environment. And you know what? I enjoyed it.
This is a very safe working environment and very professional.
You know what? I'm feeling Moulin Rouge right now.
We can recreate some scenes.
Anyways, they kind of fall back in love again.
Yes.
Little twisted thing, like, you know, he got left on red for a day essentially,
Yeah.
and then he came back,
Right.
and she had actually snapped back like
Right.
twice. She
Yes.
double texted him, you know what?
Yeah.
So he was like
Yeah.
super excited.
Yeah.
That's the
And then she got hit by a
version.
bus because she was distracted and texting. You
Mean
know.
Girls.
Sure.
This happens to me.
That's right. Yes. That's right. Yeah.
By a bus.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. It's crazy. What a comparison. Okay, anyways, so they fall back in love, and the Duke's like, this is not good. And my throat.
Yeah. So then the Duke's like, I'm going to go shoot him myself. So he picks up the gun, goes to shoot him. And then the manager is like, no, and like
Redemption,
right? Yeah, punches him out. And that's that.
Yeah, well, essentially, Saltine's very angry with the manager because he hid the fact that
Yes.
she was dying, and so yeah, there is a little bit of a redemption arc in the manager, and I think he was a good character because, first of all, she says like, all you did was make me believe my whole life that all I was worth was this and that, and maybe that's true, but there is some instances where, first of all, he saves both of their lives more than once. He helps her lie and like helps the characters hide their affair and stuff like that, which obviously not a great thing to do, but in terms of our characters who we're trying to root for, it is, because lesser of two evils, because she knows that her love affair with Ewan McGregor's character Christian
Bale.
Consensual, but she knows that unfortunately with the Duke it's going to be kind of more of a part of my language, but a rape, you know what I mean? And that's just the fact of the matter, and I don't know if we have to bleep that word. Maybe.
I have no idea. But we'll talk to Network Ryan.
Essentially, it's just a harsh reality. So he does help the characters kind of succeed in their ways, and then he distracts the Duke in the bedroom.
I will say his character was a bit unexpected because, like you say, he is kind of in the end he's one of the good guys. Right. And when he's introducing this and he introduces that character in the very beginning, my immediate thought is, all right, that's the bad guy. He's, like it's a classic, trope when you have like, like a sex worker, and typically in those kinds of in this time period and this type of story, their manager is usually the bad guy, forcing them to do whatever and whatnot for profits. And so immediately you're like, oh, he's the, the showrunner. He's the bad guy, but he's not really in the end. So that was a good way to kind of change it up a little bit from just a standard trope, Yeah,
like he does force her to do things. He does, like when she coughs up blood and passes out, the first thing he asks is like, when can she perform next, right? So there is a lot of that stuff that, maybe he's not the best guy, but in the end, he does always go with her best interests in distracting the Duke and making sure that he's whatever. And then I guess, he does warn her that, like, the Duke wants this to be a thing. And if he finds out, then it's over for all of us. Right. And so there's a lot of good and bad moments. Like, I don't know if he's fully redeemed or not, because again, he's not like a perfect character, but at the end of the day, he does save the day. He is one of the main heroes, right? So it's a very interesting thing, and I think it's all open to interpretation, right? Like whether you think he was at the end of the day a good guy and did the best, or if what he kind of did throughout the thing was, even though he's backed up in a corner, was acceptable or not, right? And so, yeah, performance is over. Christian and Saltine, kind of back in love again, but she starts to die and really die now that the performance.
Now she's actually dead.
She had like a last win, I guess, for the performance, but unfortunately, she's dead now, and the Duke leaves and stuff, and Christian's heartbroken. She's kind of dying in his arms and stuff, and she goes away, and they talk about their love, and again, Ewan McGregor's performance is, and Nicole Kidman, both of them, their performances were awesome.
They did that scene really, really well. That's where I thought you were crying.
No, I wasn't.
I look over and I heard you sniffing, and I thought you were crying, but no.
No, I think I like sneezed in the movie theater right when that was happening. And so I was like, and that's because that's you see, right? But no, there was a lot of people actually crying in the movie theater.
I did hear some, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, this is sad, right? But
it was a good scene, but it wasn't cry worthy for me.
No, like I feel like maybe it would be cry worthy after like, I don't know, late night, sleep deprived, like alone in my room.
No, I've never cried in a movie once ever.
You know what? I had a great record, and then when I was like 13, I watched like A Dog's Purpose.
I was, the closest I've ever came was in grade 6 when we watched Wonder. We went and watched in the theater.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I actually got really close.
What part? Because I read that book and watched that movie.
Yeah, because we read the book and then we went and watched the movie. I don't remember what part it was. I haven't seen it in long enough that I don't remember. But I was pretty close. That's the closest I've ever been.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what other movies I may have cried in. I feel like I'm a little more emotional than you are.
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, I technically, like, one of the signs of being a psychopath is that you don't sneeze when other people sneeze, and I don't sneeze when other people sneeze. So
isn't it yawn when other people yawn?
Yawn, that's what it is. Yeah. Yawn. Yeah,
I was like, wait, why would then
right.
everyone would be sneezing?
Yeah, yawn. No, it's yawning. Yeah. And I don't typically do that. So, I guess I'm just emotionally deprived.
That should be a talent. I can swallow a yawn. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. That doesn't sound like
it hurts your jaw. It hurts
yeah, I can imagine. That doesn't sound like it should be possible.
Yeah, right. It's like sneezing with your eyes open. Like you can do it, but it's not fun. Anyways, so
all right.
Yeah, and we'll go back and maybe a little bit more somber. Yeah, Saltine.
We'll talk a little bit more about you swallowing yawns. Yeah, for sure.
Saltine is dead. Unfortunately, and Ewan McGregor's performance, man, it's just so good.
Yeah, he does.
And he's like crying, he's like screaming, like we need help and whatever. And I don't know, man. Like I just thought it was good. It was fantastic. But that's kind of like more the end of the movie.
Yeah, and then
talks about.
Then he's like, it's a couple days pass, and then weeks, and then months, and then one day I decided to sit down and write our story, and that's kind of where it picks up, where it comes back to the start, like that.
Yeah.
Circular sort of plot.
Yeah.
So that's the plot.
Essentially, the movie's over. Moulin Rouge is such a great story that it's going to play for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
And who knows? Who knows? It is on Broadway, and it's doing pretty well.
Yeah, I've seen clips from the musical, which was based on the movie. I've heard that it's okay. Some people were like a lot of people really love it, but then some people were like, it was kind of lacking in some of the music areas, but I don't know. I haven't seen it, but this is a movie review, not a musical review. So.
Well, most of Moulin Rouge actually isn't actually singing; it's mostly lip syncing. In the actual Broadway, apparently.
No, I don't like
which
that.
Which is interesting.
I don't.
Yeah,
no. That's bad.
That's a fact. I looked online. I want to talk about jump cuts because there's a lot of jump cuts.
They just jump all over.
That's gonna go into continuity errors. Especially at the end scene, when the manager's looking over at the Duke at the end to see his face, and then we cut to the wide, he's looking the other direction, and then back and forth.
Yeah,
there's a lot of continuity errors.
Well, when you have a movie like this, like when it's a single cam, like shoot,
sure,
like most of these movies. So you do the scene, half a dozen times and shoot it from a different angle every time. That's like the standard method,
Right.
When it's so complicated and it's so like chaotic, it's hard to do it the same way every time.
Sure.
You know,
well, I would say there's some moments where there's some continuity like the scar on the one dude's face keeps changing in shots. The one that I just mentioned with the over the shoulder not being continuity, that's stuff that is pretty easy.
Yeah, right. But like with that, the one where like he's looking the other way. That's just because there's so much going on that like you can't block it out, right? When you have 100 actors, like in some of those opening scenes where like there's literally probably 100 people all there. Like you can't make it exactly the same way every time. It's impossible. And that's where like a musical exceeds at that, because you're doing it once. And you don't have to recreate it perfectly every time, because it's only once.
I was thinking about this on the drive here. And despite the continuity errors, and I want to get your opinion, but despite the continuity errors, I think they actually work. I think it's one of the few times, especially in a musical, that you can actually take a continuity error and just be like, yeah, that was a stylistic thing. Because, first of all, suspension of disbelief in any film, but especially a music video, because right from the get-go, you're supposed to assume that these two characters went from talking to full-out singing in a second, beautifully, and are now singing their entire life story to each other in 3 minutes, and now they're in love.
That's a musical.
Exactly.
With Fireside at the spring show last year, we did a song. It's called A Musical, and it's called A Musical. It's called A Musical. Yeah. No, but like it's really quite hilarious, because it's like, so he's like, what, so and so, what is a musical? Well, I believe it's a play, or a play in which an actor just starts singing their lines or whatever, and it's like, so you're expecting me to believe that someone is just speaking and then they just suddenly burst into song, and it's like, this is one of the things about musicals that's really annoying, and yet somehow it works. Like that's what a musical is, right? Is like anytime there's a high emotion, they start singing, and I don't know. It feels a little bit odd to see it on a movie screen, but it works, I guess, in my opinion.
It works, and here's the thing. That's why I think the continuity errors, because there's so many jump cuts. I talked about it being the greatest showman on crack or coke, whatever drug you want to put it on. Like it's insane. It's like duh 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 duh.
Well, and I didn't notice anything like that. If I'm being honest, I didn't really notice many continuity errors because it's so fast and you don't have time to take everything in, right?
Right. And I think it's different for everyone, because I wasn't necessarily looking for continuity errors, but once you've watched so many movies, and you've made movies and stuff and seen your own continuity errors, I think it's easier to tell from someone else's mistakes,
right? You're looking for more of those things, but I still find like with this, it was just so fast that anytime I'm watching a movie, I'm looking for those continuities. My first thing is still to see the main focus of the shot, right? Like I don't first go to I'm looking at this random obscure corner to see if there's a Starbucks cup in this scene that they forgot, right?
Well, that's like what you do on your fifth watch, right?
Right.
Not your first time,
right?
And my point is, it's not a bad thing, because I didn't leave the theater thinking, oh man, whoever was script supervisor did a sloppy job. Because no,
because you didn't notice
it made sense. There were so many jump cuts in the edit and random speeding things up, slowing things down, and like the elephant scene where all of a sudden the characters are here and then they're here and then they're all dressed up in this costume. It's like so much suspension of disbelief. But like again, it's something that in my opinion worked. It had this, for something that was so dramatic and had such maybe a somber tone at the end with like love lost and stuff like that. It was kind of cartoony in a lot of those dance numbers, right?
And also like the sound effects. There were so many sound effects that were like cartoon, like the
Looney Tunes,
like the zoop and like the boing, like all those just little things that accompanied certain movements. But that lessened as the movie went on. Like the movie really changed.
Yeah.
Like the opening was very like cartoony, high energy, fun, like a musical, but by the end it was like a serious drama, and like by halfway through you weren't hearing any more of those cartoony noises or anything.
Right. And I think that's kind of like where the plot goes from more of like fallen in love whatever to I've lost this love, right?
Yeah, or there's a something in the way of this love.
Yeah, like we're Looney Tunes and now we're the Batman.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Speaking of which, Batman this Saturday.
Yes.
The Roxy, the 1989 with Michael Keaton. Perfect. It's going to be great. 7 p.m. at the Roxy. ColiseumPresents.ca.
Good plug, dude.
I know, right?
I was pretty freaking good. We're getting good at that stuff. While we're talking about plugs, Patreon.
Yep. We really need to actually look up what the Patreon is, because every time I say, I don't know, just go search up Dufferin Avenue Media Network on Patreon and you'll find it. So we should really actually know.
I did that. You can find it.
You can find it. It's there. $5 a month if you can and you would like to support us. It's a great way. There's also the Your Show tier to support all of the Dufferin Avenue Media Network if you want to support everything we do here. But for just Your Show, feel free to subscribe and leave a comment about what you want to see next, what movies you have, or your thoughts on this. Maybe you agree with me that the sound on the singing and stuff, or maybe you agree with Ethan and you don't really know what you're talking about, and Anyway, continue.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of where the tone shifts, and yeah, I guess it's one of those things where I didn't really notice a ton of I noticed continuity errors, but I didn't care.
I didn't notice them. So
and a big drama setting like that too, where you probably care more, right? Like it's like, oh, why is that character on this side of the stage here when all of a sudden we flip this angle and he's there? Like that doesn't make sense. But I don't know. There were so many jump cuts, fast moving things, and large set pieces that we'll get into that it worked.
Yeah.
And it felt more like they were in Whoville in some places, the big windmill and stuff. And I want to talk about like some of those set pieces.
Yeah, I think that's a great segue into the set and the costumes and the design.
And the electricians. Design. I want to start off. The electricians in this film deserve their own Oscar because it's incredible. There's so many like cool lighting effects and like especially on the top of the elephant with the lights on the railing, and then you have the light on the top of the elephant, and then you have the lights on the back wall behind them. I don't know. It was the one area reminded me of this scene in the live action Jim Carrey Grinch, where the lady's like Martha, I think is her name. She's putting up string lights on her house on the outside. It kind of looked like that in the background. You know what I mean?
And the other thing that challenges then is the lighting technicians.
Yeah,
because when you're bringing all those like studio lighting and set lighting it's a very particular thing, and you're setting all your coloring and your balances, and then you're setting the cameras accordingly, and it's a very particular thing. But if you're throwing Christmas lights and stage lights and all these other random things in there, then color like setting the lighting up to make it look good and lighting the subjects properly, and then setting the camera correctly and everything, that makes it a challenge too.
Yeah, like whatever lens you're using, your white balance, the depth, whatever. Like it's all saying it. Now I don't know, like the one shot when we're kind of leaving the Moulin Rouge and he's got the lights behind him before they're about to sing on the balcony. Yeah. I don't know if they have like Kinos on C-stands in the back and that's what that is, but like they're big massive spotlights that you don't really see, but they cast these massive shadows. And I don't know. I thought the lighting especially, and just like shout out to all the people who did that kind of stuff, because it was fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think again the cartoony vibe in the very first scene when they kind of meet up and they're like, okay, we need someone to write the Moulin Rouge essentially, or write for the Moulin Rouge. They're doing magic tricks and stuff, and it's all crazy, and they got random stuff, and like, it's hard to describe, but I think there's so many interesting set pieces that are massive. Like you got the big stage and theater, and then you got the elephant and stuff like that. I think it just tied together really well. And like I said, it does remind me of like The Greatest Showman on crack, because that, I don't know if you've seen that that show.
The Greatest Showman?
Yeah.
I've seen it a dozen times. Yeah. I thought you said The Grinch for some reason. No. Greatest Showman. No, I've seen it dozens of times.
And I think that's a fantastic musical. Like I said, I'm not a huge musical guy, but I think that's one of the best I've ever seen. And
the music, I love the music from Greatest Showman. We've actually done a couple songs from Greatest Showman with Fireside, and they're so much fun.
I don't doubt it. They're good. They're catchy songs, and I don't know.
Well, that's one thing. Like in this movie, in Moulin Rouge here, it surprised me that they brought all these modern song references in, and it's set in the 1900s, but a lot of the music felt like pop music, like modern. Like pop bar dance scene music, like something that you were maybe stuck in the 90s. Yeah,
I know
this not quite modern, but like
this came out 2001, so it wasn't the 90s, but it felt 90s in a way.
Yeah, like 90s, but like a costume party for 1900, right?
Yeah.
Like it, which was an interesting vibe. And at first, I'm like, they're using this song when it's set in the 1900s, but by the end, I'm like, this works.
Right,
Like,
when they just pull out "I was made for loving you," I was like, "I was made for loving you, baby," and we just lost all of our Patreon members.
Right. No,
what do we get ourselves into?
But yeah, no, like off the start, I'm like, I'm not so sure about this. But then by the end, I didn't notice it. Like it worked, and I think that's the general story with this movie: is the start and the beginning is kind of shaky, but by the end, you're like, I can get into this. And I'm sure if I watched it another time, I would start it at another level of, like, I wouldn't be as confused off the start or be as, like...
Cynical,
right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm sure I would start at a more appreciative level, almost.
Right, and I think they do something interesting, too, when they start off and they, like, pull open the curtain on the TV screen, right? And there's, like, the little conductor and stuff.
Yeah, I do like
the
that.
Warner Bros. Thing, and I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting.
That was way off pitch. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I need to auto-tune that.
Yeah. Well. So, I don't know. I think the, for the most part, again.
Are we going to get copyrighted for that?
I don't know.
It probably wasn't on pitch enough for them to copyright it.
That'd be a pretty sad thing to copyright. I think they'd probably just give you the rights to it after hearing that. Like, you know what? I think it's time we make a new intro.
Yeah, right.
In terms of set pieces, and that's why I think you like winning best art and production and stuff like that. Is so awesome because I didn't know that fact until last night.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was thinking, I wrote in my notes even before, I was just like, this is, it's incredible. And,
it's a visual spectacle.
And the top of the tower.
It's a spectacular spectacle.
It's a spectacular.
That's what it is.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought it was fantastic. And there's a lot of great dance numbers and stuff. And if I'm being honest, I don't pay too much attention to the dance a lot of the times. Like, some of it made me feel like it was like a Family Guy thing, like a kid doing the leg kick, and I don't know. Like, I'm not a huge dance or music guy.
I'm not a dancer at all. But yeah, I mean, I can't comment on the dancing, but to me it looked good. But I'm not an expert on it. So.
And I think part of it is for me too, as someone who doesn't watch a ton of musicals but watches a lot of other movies, is I do spend a lot of time looking at some of those technical elements and looking at the sets and the lightings and stuff like that, because I'm not as interested in big dance numbers, even though, that is a massive technical part, I should say. Like,
it's a technical feat to do those.
Exactly. Sorry. So I should be focusing that when I say technical elements, I guess, but. I guess I do spend a lot of time looking for other things like lighting and set pieces and stuff like that, because while the dance numbers are massive spectacles and they're incredible, it's like I am very interested in some of those other maybe more behind the scenes things. Because
how did they actually shoot that?
The majority of people do focus on the dancing and stuff like that, and it is something to focus on and give attention to because it's so awesome. Yeah. But there is other things too that I think doesn't get enough credit because it's, again, everyone's focusing on this, like things like the backdrops and stuff like that, and the massive kind of landscape, and I think that's something that's incredible. And so it's all technical elements. It all blends together to make a great film.
In a way, those big dance scenes remind me of how they would shoot like mass battle scenes in something like Lord of the Rings, or like that, where it's like, I mean, those are a highly choreographed dance essentially. Well, like, as much as you can choreograph something like that. But like, it's the same idea where it's like a lot of people all doing the same thing, and I think shooting those is masterful. Like it's insane how they do that. But
singing, I like the singing. Expectations were
low going in.
Yeah,
but
I didn't know what to expect really because I didn't do my research. I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't like super looking forward to it, but again, that's my fault for not doing my research and stuff, and I'm just happy I was surprised. I have one last fact here, and that was Attack of the Clones.
Wrong movie.
Attack of the Clones starred Ewan McGregor, and they were using the same sound stages as Moulin Rouge. So 99, Phantom Menace comes out, Ewan McGregor's in that. He gets asked to work on The Matrix. He declines The Matrix, does Moulin Rouge, 2001. 2002, Attack of the Clones comes out. But the next production after Moulin Rouge at the Australian sound stages was Attack of the Clones, also starring Ewan McGregor. So he didn't have to travel very far for work. But they were actually on a super tight deadline, and production of Attack of the Clones was pushed back 2 weeks because of Moulin Rouge taking a little bit of extra time.
Huh.
Yeah, and they just both starred Ewan McGregor.
Neat.
Sorry, I'm dying, man. Like I should have gotten a drink or something, but I didn't want like a 9 a.m. Mountain Dew.
That's the way to go. It's 11:30 now. You're good. It's lunchtime. You can have a drink.
Anyways, I think that's kind of mostly what I got.
Yeah.
I should say, I feel like I'm kicking myself because I said like focusing on technical elements like, electricity and set pieces, but like I should say, just to clarify one more time, that it's all a massive technical element, and that's one of the beauty of filmmakings that I think attracts so many people is that like, yeah, at the end of the day, like there's so many behind the scenes thing and technical elements, like from performance to choreography to lighting and just cinematography and stuff. And it's all a bunch of technical elements and departments working together to create a spectacle.
Yeah, and then also special effects coordinating, because there was some good special effects from this. I'm not sure if some of those opening, and they used them throughout, but mainly in opening, those establishing shots of the area. Like I don't know what to call it, like the town, I guess. I think those were special effects.
I think they're special effects.
But I can't confirm. But
like the drone shots, like through the windmill to the thing. I think that's special effects.
Some of that. But then also like the one scene where they're on top of the elephant and then they start singing and like dancing. And then it like, they like are off onto like, they have the smoke around their feet. And then they're like off in like the clouds kind of dancing.
True, I never thought of that one.
Something like that. Like that was really smoothly done. Like the transitions into that. And it was, I didn't notice anything about it really that was odd and I thought it was really well. Like that, like not showing the feet there and using the smoke is a great way to blend that and not have to worry about really having to like have any issues there. But yeah,
I agree. And so I think one of the special things that I think definitely came together in this movie was in the art department. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of that. And clearly, best art and production design and costume, stuff like that, those 2 Oscars, like, the proof is in the pudding, right? And it's definitely, in any film, one of the greatest things is when all those things come together and everyone is very passionate about what they do and they can create something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I forget which episode it was. I think I talked about that too. And I kind of said something like, I was on a walk the other day and I was listening to it because I was like trying to think of what I could say better. And I don't know, that's kind of what I wanted to say. I forget which episode it was, but essentially all of filmmaking is little tiny elements that come together. It's not one thing that excels above everything else that makes something good. It's a lot of balance and finding out what works and kind of melding the skills of all these different groups of people together and creating something. Yeah. And I think that happened here, and sure. I think it worked.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to kind of say?
I'm good.
Yeah, like I said, the continuity errors, like they're there, but do they matter?
Yeah.
In my opinion, not really.
No, and like I said, I didn't notice them on first watch. To me, the continuity errors that really matter are ones that you notice on first or second watch, and like are really like glaring, like, but
yeah, no, that's fair enough.
So we give it a rate and wrap this thing up.
Let's do it. I'll go first.
Sure, I'll go. I'm going into this. I was feeling around a 7.5. Going into the filming this episode, but you've pointed out some things, and I feel like I can bring it up to a 7.8.
7.8.
Yeah.
Ooh, you make me so sad all the time.
Why?
Because you always give it a higher rating than me, and I think I enjoyed this movie. Our rating system must be off because I think I enjoyed this movie more than you.
You
did.
Probably did.
But I'm going to give it a lower rating.
Okay.
I was going to give it a 7.5. And so we were kind of kind of even there, and I guess I convinced you on some things.
Yeah,
just like how I convinced you Ian McGregor actually sang, and it was good, and there's no auto-tune. But anyways, thanks for watching The Viewing Room. And if you want to see us do more things, sorry, my throat is just dying right now.
He's not going to be on the next episode.
Yeah, am I not?
We're done.
Well, whatever. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. My throat is just dead right now, but
we'll see you later.
The comments. Do the comments.
Yeah, do the comments. We'll see you.